Hi, this is Steve Light, founder of Leading Light, and I have a special guest with me today, Kamal Ravikant, author of Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It. Thanks for joining me, Kamal. How's it going today?
It's great. It's beautiful and sunny in San Francisco. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. I'm very jealous. Although it has actually been sunny in London today, so we've had a bit of sunshine. So I read your book a couple of months ago, and I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And the reason I felt compelled to interview you was, for a couple of reasons, really. One being that what it's like to be at rock bottom and, be depressed. And also, two, your book is fundamentally about self-love and acceptance. And the people who I help and support either have some kind of social anxiety, low self-esteem, depression, or lack of self-confidence, etc. So first of all, I wanted you to, tell us a little bit about yourself, your story, and how things changed for the better.
Sure. Honestly, all those words you use, you've used, I've used them to describe myself quite often in the past. Not so now, and I'll. It's interesting how we all change and evolve as human beings. My background actually is just been doing startups since the first .com boom, and I've been part of Silicon Valley here for my entire career. Before that, I did some other things. I was in the U.S. Army for a bit, and just traveled around a lot. Been to the UK. I actually spent a few months there in Surrey. I love it over there. Beautiful. And so my background is, basically a startup guy, entrepreneur. Out here in Silicon Valley, it's in the water. It's like in Hollywood. If you go, you end up writing a screenplay. Here, you end up starting a company.
Yeah,
you can't help it, and it's great. But there is the most sexiness part of being entrepreneurship, and the other part that most people don't talk about is the pressure and the stresses you put yourself into. Mm. And so my last company, which I built, for 4 years, crashed, and I lost all my money. Investors lost their money, and it was not a fun process. But along with it, I crashed along with it. I wasn't taking care of myself. I got very, very sick. I wasn't sure what was wrong with me, and I just gone through a breakup. One of my friends died. My company fell apart. I was incredibly sick. I had lost my health. I was pretty much, just lying in my bedroom day after day, just not even parting the shades, just not crawling out of bed, miserable. Depressed would be a great day. I'm looking back, like it would have been, an upswing. I was miserable.
Yeah.
And this book, I never set out to write this book. It was more, the book came out because of what the experience I had and how it changed everything. And I shared that with people, and it changed things for them. That's why the book exists. I didn't set out to be someone who, hey, I'm gonna sell Loving Myself. It was more, I was desperate. I had no choice, and I made a vow to myself, and the desperation about loving myself, which is in the book. And I literally decided I was going all in. I was going to die trying, and I went all in, and it totally transformed my life. I really look at my life now, and like basically two little points: life before the vow and life after the vow. Life before the book, like after the book. The book is actually, an expression of the vow that I made to myself to love myself. And it really just changed my health, changed my relationships, changed my finances, and it was nothing about working on the outside. It was all about working on the inside, which is where all, everything happens anyway. We think that my situation has to change or that person has to like me and so forth. But in the end, we do all that inside, and the outside just falls right into place. That's the only way I can put it. I like to use the word magic because there's no other better way to describe it. What happens when you work on yourself on the inside?
Awesome. Yeah. Like I said before, especially with the kind of label of social anxiety and low self-esteem, you're kind of, from my experience, looking for outer things to make you happier, to, constantly looking for approval from others about your opinions and basically everything you do. So yeah, I totally get that.
And that's also, it adds a stability to you that a lot of people crave, because if it's emanating from inside, it's not dependent on outer conditions.
Yeah.
That's true self power, and that is the only self power I think the only power we have control over is working as our insides, as our the way we think, the way we feel, and I think we just take it for granted. But as you were describing with your experience, what you set out to do, your own journey, I mean, you made a conscious, focused effort, and you did it. You took risks, and it changed things for you. You have things from the inside, and which caused you to start this site. And here we are talking today. I'm in San Francisco, you're in London.
Yeah, exactly. It's I guess over the time I've worked on myself and improving myself, I see the world as a better place. I was quite angry before that the world was the problem, or my family was the problem. I blamed everyone else, but in fact it was my view of the world, and only I could change that. Yeah,
that's powerful. That's a huge shift. I mean, that's a life-changing shift.
Yeah, it really is when I think about it in that way. But yeah, thank you for that.
Sure.
So that this kind of links into what you're just talking about anyway. But how important do you think that loving and accepting yourself is regarding in boosting your self-esteem?
It's interesting. I've talked to a lot of people about this, and I also think if one's gonna work on themselves, just do the most important thing. And for me, it turned out to be love. I've tried accepting myself, and I know others have that have talked as well. But love is something. The word love is something that we all respond to just as human beings. We've all felt it. We've all been babies. Or we've loved a dog, or a dog that's loved us. Accepting is, I think, a word that's open to far more variety of definitions. You may accept yourself, but still not in a way that's healthy for you.
Yeah.
Whereas if you love yourself, you love yourself. Like if your dog loves you, that's love, right? You don't sit there and try. You can define it various ways. So I think in that sense, if one's going to do something and one's going to work in themselves, just pick the real one, the one that changes everything. And for me, it's been love. I mean, we can love others, right? Why? But loving ourselves, I don't know why, as human beings, this tends to be harder. But that's where it changes everything. So I would say, how important is it? For me, it's been literally, I look at my life as before and after. It's never been the same. Do I go through ups and downs? Yeah, I just went through some hard downs earlier this year, but loving myself through the downs kept me afloat and brought me out of it, and I'm flying again. Mm-hmm. Whereas I think if I wasn't, I would have just been, being banged around by life. Yeah. Life has its ups and downs. It's who we are in it that makes all the difference. So I think loving yourself is, for me at least, is the most transformative thing I've ever done, and probably I ever will do. And I've what people I talk to who've done the same say the same thing, and out of that comes, if you love yourself, acceptance comes out naturally, and esteem comes out naturally because it's from inside. It's loving yourself. You're nourishing yourself from the inside out. It's less dependent on external factors. And the irony is, as you do that, the external factors you dependent on for self-esteem, they kind of get better.
Yeah. Wow, that's... when you were talking about that, I've just had, a realization. Like when I've gone back down again, it's so easy to go back into how much you hate yourself and you're an idiot because you've been doing so well, and then you're going back down again. But you've just totally flipped this on its head. You can make the conscious choice that you want to love yourself again, even though you're having this bad time, and it's going to bring you back out. That's really fantastic.
Yeah, the way I put it is, loving yourself, like when you go through rough times, and life is transitory. People come and people die. There's nothing you can do about that. For example, right? Let's take something that we have no control over. People we love, they'll go in and out of our lives, whether through, they're just passing through, or whether it's real life things. We can't control them. What we can control is, and those are hard moments, and they should be. There are things in life that should make you feel. That should make you feel sad. That's part of being a human being. That's part of living. But the loving for me, what's become is like loving myself in the hard times. It's a life preserver. Maybe going through a hard time, but like I'm floating. I'm floating. I'm not drowning. It keeps me from drowning. But then things get better, it becomes a speedboat. Like my life just soars. We come out of it. We come out of things much, much faster. Things that would drive me down for long periods of time, I could snap right back out of them. The only difference is the inside, not the situation. It's me.
Yeah. Wow, that's absolutely fantastic. Yeah, so I wanted to ask you, what is your your passion, your life purpose, and how would you see yourself leaving your dent in the universe?
That's a minor question. Let's see. Writing's a passion of mine. I realized I'll share something with you. Like fully expressing ourselves, who we are to the world is an unbelievable thing. The book, how well it's done, and how the emails I get from people, the reviews people leave on Amazon, and I read all the tweets, I read all the reviews, I read all the emails. They're amazing. It showed me the power of just sharing who you really are, what you really believe.
Yeah.
I was quite scared to write this book because, I'm a guy. I'm in Silicon Valley, surrounded by tech entrepreneurs. No one uses the word love, talks about loving themselves. No one talks about when they failed.
Yeah.
When the company failed. It's just swept under the rug. And I'm so glad I took that risk where I put this out there, and it showed me the power of just expressing myself, my words, and what I'm thinking to the world. So for me, actually, the way I'd want to make the dent I want to make is just continue down this path and share everything I'm learning. Just be a full example of it and share it. So I'm doing that with writing. I've just finished another book that I'm going to put out probably a month or two from now. And it's not like Love Yourself Part 2. I don't want to become that guy. All right. There's no need. I said what I need to say in that book, the first one. This one is actually more about helping people discover what their truth is. Because when it's come from inside you, I think it's far more powerful. It's not intellectual anymore.
Yeah.
And you have to live it. So the way I want to make the dent in the universe is just being full-on expression of myself to the world. And however, writing is definitely a core part of it.
Wow, that's brilliant. It sounds like you just be fully being yourself and just sharing that and knowing that that's helping other people. Because especially from my experience before, I never thought that my little old me, my story would help anyone. Because when you've got low self-esteem, you don't really think you contribute in any way. So that's that's really fantastic you're doing that, and I look forward to reading your new book as well.
Thank you. And I think, it's not just me, and it's not just by writing, it's anyone. When we're being ourselves, whether you're raising a child or whether you're building a company or creating a piece of art, when it's an expression of you, that's what creates magic in life, right? And that's pretty much all we can give in life, is just be an expression of our real selves, not the fears, not the shadows of the mind, and not what we're afraid of, but just who we really are, expressing that. And the world really responds. I think people are hungry for it. People are hungry for vulnerability. What you're doing is being very vulnerable and sharing, what you've been through and how you've grown. And you're seeing how the world responds. I think that's just the way things are. That's the secret. Just be yourself. As corny enough as that sounds, but really fully be yourself. And take away I think it's when we're vulnerable is when people really connect with us, and we connect with that.
Yeah. Well, if only more people knew this, we wouldn't be wasting our lives chasing something which is, either chasing money or chasing other people's dreams. It sounds so simple when we talk about it, but most people don't realize it, do they?
Now, I didn't realize it until, God, it's only been a year and a half or whatever, 2 years. I had to hit rock bottom to get out of it and figure it out. But I don't think one has to hit rock bottom. And I'll tell you what the secret is. The secret actually to this for me was making a vow, making a commitment. It's like, Cortez burning the ships behind you. You have no choice. right? When you do that, we're all smart enough in our lives. We're all smart enough in our heads to know to figure it out. So when I made that vow for myself, it was really when I realized, oh my God, I made a vow, wrote it on paper, and I sat back, I looked at it, and I was miserable. And I thought, oh, I made a vow. Now I got to figure this out, And so I did, and I did it as the simplest way I could that worked for me. I think that's the key with anything for anything that matters that we do, to make that full on commitment.
Yeah.
And I think that's all it takes. I've seen that with other people's lives as well, right? It doesn't have to be for just this kind of stuff. I think that's it. I think if that's all people, if I was to share with people, like how to do it, how to have amazing life, exactly the way you want to be and make a full in commitment, like a full vow. You have no choice now. You burned the ships. You're stuck on the island. You gotta figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally relate to that, because when I was at one of my worst points, I was like, I'm sick and tired of this. I'll do whatever it takes to overcome this, and in return, I'll help other people. That just came. It wasn't an intellectual thing. I wasn't trying to work this out. It just came out.
Yeah,
came out of me, and since that was the biggest turning point ever. Just being 100% committed to doing whatever it takes, and yeah, that was about 7 years ago or something now, 7 or 10 years ago. So
I love it. And that's really all it is. We're all smart enough. We all figure it out. And also, these days, we have access to resources and books, and, the internet, there's enough blogs out there. There's a lot of information. Once we're committed, then we're actually hunting and seeking the answers. And, when you're committed, you apply them.
Yeah.
There's a difference between saying I'd like to be in great shape versus you're fully committed.
Yeah.
Huge difference.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And the results show.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so just to finish things up and, leave a few practical tips for people listening to this. So if you only had one piece of practical advice to give, what would it be?
Piece of practical advice. Yeah, the piece of practical advice that I think transformed things for me, and I actually applied pretty much to everything I do now, is that level of commitment. If I'm going to do it, if it's important to me, I'm going to fully commit. And there's no looking back. Doesn't mean it always works out. But when I said it all works out, maybe the outcome doesn't necessarily end up being the outcome that I wanted. But because of who I was, I never regret it anymore, because I was committed. I was giving it my all. And that's all what we can do in life, right?
Yeah.
And to practical is really that simple. Like for me, it was actually writing down the vow to myself in my journal. So it's there in paper, sitting on my desk. I stare every day. It's dated. I had that in front of me, my journal sitting on my desk. The very vow that led to my transformation in the book is there on my journal. It's real. Like otherwise, we can always poo-poo things or say, "Oh, I'll do it tomorrow." But when you make it to yourself on paper, where it's sitting in front of you, it came from you, and it's there, and it's a vow, it's a commitment to yourself, you will make it happen. And if you don't, we fall. We are human beings. We fall, we get up. We fall, we get up. But that vow is in front of you. So you get up for that vow, you do it again. And before you know it, it gets easier and easier. It's like anything. It's like learning to work out. It's like, as you were telling me about your journey, about what you did. And I'm sure the first time going up on stage was terrifying versus the 10th time going on stage.
Yeah.
But sometimes the fear doesn't go away. I mean, fear is a natural part of the brain. But what it is you realize the fears, oh, that's fear. Okay, hi, fear. And you continue forward.
Yeah. Yeah, well, definitely. I was a bit nervous before talking to you today, but then, yeah, it was. I guess this is important to me, and I just want to help as many people as I can through this. And every 99% of the times when fear comes up and I face it, I feel so much better, and that is the same for anyone really. The worry about the outcome, is a lot worse than when you're actually doing it.
Yeah. I think what the gift in all of this is the person we become and faith in going past our fears. The outcomes change or whatever, but who we become is something that can never be taken away from us.
Yeah.
And that actually, when I'm talking about self-esteem, that's the best way to build self-esteem. Who you become in facing your fears, that gives you a natural self-esteem that I don't think can be taught.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, and I definitely wouldn't have got where I am today if I didn't face these fears one step at a time, and I don't regret any moment of it. You know, it's been tough sometimes, but the feelings you get afterwards, it's like walking up a staircase, and you might fall back a couple of steps, but you'll never be right back at the bottom again because you've built up, courage and confidence over the period of time you're doing it. So I'm just gonna keep on doing the same.
I love it. I still love it. Yeah, it's great advice for anyone, for all of us.
Thanks, man. So thank you so much for your time today, Kamal.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for having me. Anyone's welcome to contact me by email. I think it's on k@foundersend.com, or my email's also in the book if anybody reads it. If you read it, I hope you enjoy it.
Okay, cheers again, and I hope you enjoy your trip away. And
thank you.
I hope you guys watching this enjoy this, and realize that your inner problems are not who you truly are, and you can do something about it.